Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Atlantic City. In the booth, Marshall Sutcliffe and Nate Price. We have Zvi Mashevitz, Hall of Famer on the left-hand side. He's got Rakdos Guildgate and Morgan Chang, definitely a stalwart here on the GP circuit, has had a couple of top eights in the last year. And Morgan looks like he's on the play here with his four-color Reanimator deck, and Zvi has a turn 2 play. It's a Knight of Infamy. And Morgan's got a Grizzly Salvage on end step, so he's going to reveal 5 cards.
I'm not sure what his land situation is here, but I would be surprised if, oh, he has none in his hand, so one of those lands is going to be making.
No, he's got a Sun Petal Grove.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends on how land hungry he is here.
And what he wants as his second color.
That's right. All right, so he is going to take an Overgrown Tomb, go to his untap, get a draw step here, and he draws a Craterhoof Behemoth. He's going to play that Sun Petal Grove and just slam a Centaur Healer. Now this is going to enable him to start to mount an offensive. It can't block the Knight of Infamy. I'm assuming that Zvi is going to attack with it. If he doesn't, then he can just leave it back to block that Centaur Healer as long as he wants. But
at this point, it depends on where Zvi feels he is. If he feels that he's the aggressor right now, which it's very rare that his deck isn't the aggressor at this point in the game.
Yeah. And he is indeed going to bash in there for 3. It's going to drop Morgan down to 18.
Oh, my.
Zombie?
Yes, sir.
Cards?
Yes, sir.
3. 15, go.
Yep.
I pride myself on my unpredictability.
It's fun quality.
It's not working out, though.
All right, and Geralt's Messenger is going to take another 2-point chunk out of Morgan's life total there.
Not sitting on the Angel. All right.
All right, now Zvi is going to have an easy decision on his turn, I would imagine. Get an opportunity to attack him with his Geralt's Messenger and leave his Knight of Infamy back for defense.
That was the question I wanted to ask you for the match.
Although he might also choose to go the other direction with that and choose to attack with his Knight of Infamy for 3, get in for an easy 3, and then leave back the Geralt's Messenger, which is capable of trading with either of Zvi's attack or Morgan's attackers. At this point, it's a game of 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
So Zvi will do a little bit of math, and Zvi has one of the best mathematical minds possibly on the planet. So
Not a bad tool to have at your disposal in
Not
a game
at all.
of Magic the Gathering.
okay, he goes ahead with Plan A, which is
Says
sending
attack
in for
trigger.
4. Morgan's
Now
got the decision.
Morgan does have the option to block here.
Downside to blocking here is he's going to be hit for 2 again, and that Geralt's Messenger is going to come right on back.
But he does decide to go ahead and do that.
And on a positive note for Morgan, the Geralt's Messenger is only a 3-2, so when it comes back as a 3-4, it is still perfectly capable of being blocked and killed by his second.
4-3, you mean.
I'm sorry, 4-3.
Yeah, although the problem, of course, is that the Exalted from
Mostly
Knight of
curiosity.
Infamy is going to bring it out of range for that
Like,
block.
don't you have a Knight in play?
Definitely creates an issue.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know about that one,
It's
right?
like, does he come to play?
Believe me, I wasn't.
Sometimes you just
I
gotta
guarantee
know.
you I was not thinking about
No, I
blocking.
understand. I know
I
that
assume
sometimes
you
it's
just
no.
I assume
comes to
that
play
you
untap
worked with
Hall of
Gavin
Famers
for a
a
little
bit.
while.
I don't want to be
It
more
was
than
like,
We all
I
want
like
to be
watching
Hall
Morgan
of
play.
Famers.
I hear a lot of chatter at the table here. A lot of friendly banter going back and forth between the players.
Say whatever you want. It doesn't mean anything. No, it's a Sandblack quote from
Trademark Zach Hill laughter there as well.
Like Gavin, him and I are comparing Fairies list before the tournament, and Sam just has like a peak in his deck, and we're like, why is there a peak? And it's just like just shrugs like he can't. Like sometimes.
All right, so Morgan Chang is trying to decide what he wants to get with his Forbidden Alchemy here.
Card I haven't seen played in a while.
No, it's a really great card, but it just hasn't really found a home in the current standard that much. It looks like a Farseek to follow things up for Morgan.
But
As a couple of Angel of Serenities are going to hit the bin, he certainly has the targets for his Reanimator deck to go. Forbidden Alchemy, a powerful tool in a Reanimator deck, as it allows you to get the things you need to survive while dumping the graveyard pieces into the yard so that you can actually get your reanimations going.
yeah, for those of you out there who are fans of Deathrite Shaman like I am and are lamenting the fact that there aren't as many ways to get lands into your graveyard, certainly something to keep in mind for deck
There you
builders.
go. There you go. Maybe a bug deck of sorts. One of my favorite 3-color combos, I know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, Morgan has 3 copies of, or I think 3 copies of Angel Serenity in his graveyard, unless he reorganized his graveyard, which is a possibility. Just has 2
At
now.
least 2.
Yeah.
Needs to find an burial rights to get those angels flying.
The Angel won't be able to do anything about that Knight of Infamy on the other
That's
side of
right.
the table, but at the same time, when you've got a 5-power attacker, you don't care quite as much about your opponent being able to get in for 3.
That's right. Now that's where Thundermaw Hellkite comes into play.
Certainly.
You know, gets that thing out of the way for a turn with its into the battlefield trigger, and then bashes head. So basically, Morgan Chang needs to be careful of staying away. Wow. So it looks like Zvi has his one of Zealous Conscripts here. And he is battling for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
puts him to
14. It's going to put Morgan all the way down to 1.
My.
And that is going to put Morgan in an extremely tough position because of that Knight of Infamy. Even if Morgan was able to Angel of Serenity to get rid of all 3 other creatures, he would just be dead on board.
Yeah.
So that was a huge swing from Zvi Mowshowitz, and I wouldn't be super surprised if Morgan is forced to concede here. Second Cavernous Souls is named Dragons for Zvi. First one's on Zombie.
Morgan's got to think.
Yep. And
Picking up
Morgan's
his
gotta
cards.
Pick them up.
Yep.
As one huge hit from Zealous Conscripts. This red-black deck that Zvi and Zach are on is all about the top end. It's really forced things to be has a nice suite of pressure early, but really this deck is all about the 3 and especially the 4 and 5 drop slots.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, Zealous Conscripts is one of those cards that you don't see as much play right now. But considering the state of the format, there are so many turns when your opponent, like, it's just like a series of turns that go, I'm going to tap out for something, now you're going to tap out for something, now I'm going to tap out for something. And when people are doing that, Conscripts is just amazing. And especially with all of the rush for top end you see from these decks, getting able to steal something, you're going to steal something very good.
Yep.
And the decks that don't go for those top ends tend to have a bunch of Planeswalkers in them, which, if you've ever gotten to Zealous Conscripts, an opponent's Planewalker that was set to ultimate on the next turn, you actually feel dirty enough that no member of Showers can help you. Well, this,
Both matches are shuffling.
yeah, the other match is going to be a fairly quick one as well, with both Zach Hill and Ari Lax playing red-based deck. Zach is playing, I think, a 75-card mirror match, or 75-card copy of Z's deck. They work together for this event. And Ari is on the mono-red deck that we saw Brian Hawk take to an undefeated record after 9 rounds of play yesterday. So it's definitely an intriguing matchup. The downside is those games are going to go lightning quick, so probably won't get an opportunity to check in as much as we'd like. But I really enjoy watching Morgan play. He's a very meticulous player.
Yeah, he really is.
And
I really enjoy it too.
Agreed. Like, it makes our job very easy also because of the way that he thinks. And he always comes with something unique. Even when he's playing like a standard deck for a format, like when we saw him playing in like Denver. He was playing Denver. He's playing, I believe, he was playing Storm. I don't remember which Storm variant he was playing. But
he was playing like with Ant.
Yeah, it was Ant. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether it was Ant or whether it was like the Teps version, but it's not a particularly highly played deck in that format, even amongst the combo decks that are there. But he chose to play it, knows it very well, and for a player who plays in the manner that he does, like just insanely keeping track of everything, it works out fairly well for him.
All right, let's take a look over at the Ari Lax versus Zach Hill match now. Like you mentioned just a minute ago, Nate, it's probably going to be a quick one as they're just bashing each other's heads in. Ari Lax has an Ash Zealot out of his mono red list, and Zach Hill has a Crimson Muckwader from his black red.
That Crimson Muckwader.
All right.
Oh my goodness, double
Lizard
Muckwader.
you, he says, and also a Gravecrawler. Now the Ash Zealot having first strike here is really key, as it means that those Crimson Muckwaders aren't going to be able to block, regenerate, and actually have a die. They can survive, which is nice. But
Does Ash Zealot,
Fireheart Wolf and ship the turn back for Arilax.
does Ash Zealot trigger on spells being cast from graveyard,
Yeah.
or specifically instants and sorceries?
Spells.
So it triggers on a Gravecrawler being cast out of the graveyard?
That's actually a really good question. Let me double check that.
If that's the I mean, I believe that's one of the reasons that this deck is pretty solid.
Whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, Ash Zealot deals 2 damage to that player.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was one of the main reasons that this deck rose to prominence in the first place, is because of the fact that it's really good against black-red zombies for that exact reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the things. Also, you know, when Snapcaster Mage was in its heyday,
yeah.
you know,
It's certainly
from
very
flashing back.
clearly an answer to Snapcaster Mage, or at least...
Yeah, all right. Looks like this Ash Zealot, though, has paid the ultimate price.
That'll happen. That will happen.
And it looks like Zach is deciding what he wants to attack with, and I think he's going to decide to just ship everybody, which makes good sense here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any reason why that wouldn't happen.
And Ari is going to snap block, and Zach's going to put a regeneration trigger on the stack, but in response, Ari is going to Brimstone Volley it. He's still going to take 5 damage this turn, however.
But he prevents Zach from developing his board anymore. Well, although I guess Zach only has a singular card in his hand.
Ari's got 5 mana now. This is Thundermaw Hellkite levels of mana. I don't know how many Ari is running.
2 main deck and no additionals on the sideboard.
All right, it is a Thundermaw Hellkite, and it is going to attack along with the Pyreheart Wolf, and he is going to hit Zach for 7 here. And we've got a good old-fashioned race on our hands here, but this is where Zach's deck really shines. He normally has a 4 or a 5 here to add to the board with haste that can just put a huge hit down on his opponent, and he doesn't look like he has it this turn, as he's just drawn a land.
Ari
And
figured it out.
Ari is drawing ever closer to the victory here. Does Ari have another Thundermaw Hellkite?
I think that's what I saw, yeah.
If he does, no,
That's a lightning mauler.
A lightning mauler, yep. But that can combo up with another card to get in there for 7, 8 for lethal. If he's got a lightning mauler plus anything else with 2 power that he can soul bond up.
And he's
Now
pausing.
Zach does have 1 card in hand, so he doesn't want to open himself up to a massive crackback. But it looks like he's just going for it. Yep, he's going to pair these 2 up, and he's going to attack for 11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So
okay.
is he thinking about leaving a guy back to block here? No, right? He's just going to attack. There he goes.
Now Zach's got 1 card in hand.
Everybody,
Let's
he
see.
says. He just figured, he said, this is
Yeah.
11. And
Yeah.
Zach says, yep, I got nothing. And extends the hand. We see the slick R&D sleeves there from Zach Hill. Those look like Black Lotus on the back. They're a little tricky to look at. They're pretty cool, but those are hard to get. You got to be an R&D to get those ones. So Arilax is able to defeat Zach Hill and give him his 2nd loss of the weekend. Let's take a look back at our main feature match with Zvi Mashevitz, Hall of Famer, up a game on the left-hand side versus Morgan Chang in his 4-color Reanimator deck. Obviously, on sheer power level, Morgan Chang's deck exceeds Zvi's, but Zvi's is much more consistent and is right up there with power level, too.
Certainly, yes. I mean, Zvi hits his top end, and all of his creatures have haste, and all of his creatures deal a large amount of damage to hit play. And like that's something that causes problems for decks like Morgan's that require some setup. Large, hasty swings really destabilize your ability to, I guess, stabilize. Completely crushes away at the foundation. I mean, you think you're safe at a certain life total, and your opponent proves you incredibly wrong with, you know, a 14-point swing like we saw last time.
That's right. All right, so it looks like a slow start for Morgan Chang as he has tap land, because he doesn't want to take any damage, but Zvi is going to have the same opening that he did in the first game with a Knight of Infamy.
Fairly strong against Morgan's deck.
It did seem very good.
Morgan does have...
I see he has an Unburial Rites and also a Grizzly Salvage, so things things could really accelerate for him here. He's also got a Forbidden Alchemy.
Yeah.
So Morgan looks like his hand is pretty sweet here. A couple of Supreme Verdicts, or maybe just one. Is that what that was?
Might have been.
Is Morgan running those?
In the sideboard, he brings in 3. He brings in like 11 cards in this matchup. He told me.
Yeah.
Like 3 Supreme Verdicts, all the Golgari Charms, the Abrupt Decays, the extra.
All right, he's going to play
Healer.
a Forbidden Alchemy here, and he does have one Supreme Verdict in hand. All right, so he's going to look at the top 4, pick one to put in his hand. The rest are going to go in his yard. And he's hoping to hit something big, although Svi's got 2 Knight of Infamy now. Really annoying when one of your main game plans is to hit Angel of Serenity with your Unburial Rites.
He does have some really good answers to that card in his deck, though. Like the Supreme Verdict is a clear big one that he brings in. Golgari Charm is great at clearing that away. It's unfortunate that some of his other really good sideboard cards don't do as much. Like, I mean, your main life gain sources don't really do anything. He does have Thragtusk in his deck, but the Rock's Faithmender that comes in out of the board, the additional center.
Yeah, all right, we're going to see a Supreme Verdict here from Morgan Chang to wipe away those 2 Knight of Infamy. Huge play for him, as those were applying a decent amount of pressure, but really they're just super difficult to deal with for Morgan's deck. So a very solid play, and it looks like Svi is just passing the turn back on turn 4, no play.
Yeah.
And it's just a Deathrite Shaman for Morgan Chang, but we also know that he's got, I think, a Grizzly Salvage in hand, so he's going to be doing more of this with this than that.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman is pretty solid in this matchup,
Oh, that's
actually.
an Evil Twin?
Yes.
A Detention Sphere? What else was it? All right, so here's turn 5 for Sweetmaj, but he's got a Thundermaw Hellkite after Dragon was named, and he's going to bash in there for 5. Morgan looks like he's going to go for a Detention Sphere here. He is going to make a mana first. Let's see what he's got. Is he just going to reanimate this Angel of Serenity right now?
He might make his own Hellkite.
And he has the ability to pay and activate it right now because it has haste.
That's so professional.
Being a
wait, let me read this. There can be only one.
Oh man, that is sweet.
Now the only Thundermaw Hellkite on the table has a goatee.
And also, even if Svi has another one, he's only going to get the one hit in with it because Morgan can just sit back and blast away at any other Thundermaw Hellkites. Now I see that Svi's just drawn a Falkenrath Aristocrat here.
Svi just said, that's something I did not see coming.
Whoop, just had a little table bump there. That's
Again,
drive
something.
First shot, absolutely batty.
Another one of those meticulous things, little interactions that sneak by a lot of players. Morgan caught. The best part is, even at the end of all of this, Morgan's still holding on to a 5/5 flyer. So
he is.
The question becomes, does he, for at least one turn, sit back with it on defense instead of attacking, just in case?
Morgan?
Yeah, give himself a life bump with that.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't attack with that thing at all. I mean, every creature in Svi's deck has haste and is trade or blockable with that thing, so he's going to need to play
Speak of the vampire.
Yep, and here comes a vampire aristocrat here, and it's going to battle in there for 4 and drop Morgan down to 5, putting him in a pretty bad spot. I mean, leaving back the Evil Twin activation means that any future Thundermaw Hellkites will be dead, but Morgan's up against it here.
And he's got the Detention Sphere in his hand that just straight gets rid of that Falkenrath Aristocrat, and he does. I mean, that Deathrite Shaman is going to start doing some work to give him some life back.
All right, a little bit of a cushion here.
Yeah, so he leaves himself.
And it looks like he is going to go ahead and just attack. And he's going to Detention Sphere post-combat on the Falkenrath Aristocrat. Okay, that's one good answer for it. And the red-black deck should have absolutely no way to interact with Detention Sphere. All right, Svi's got at least 2 lands in hand, and I think he's got the Zealous Conscripts as well.
It's not quite as awesome.
It would hit him for 6 right now. Or actually, if he takes the Thundermaw Hellkite...
Nah, it's not. It just hits him for 5 at that point.
Hits him for 5 at that point, and he can force Morgan to trade off that...
yeah, he forces...
Centaur Healer if he wants.
Exactly. I mean, he forces the trade one direction. I mean, it really depends on what Zvi's got in his hand. Like
he's got land conscripts.
Yeah, I don't think he can do anything this turn.
He has to just hope that Morgan leaves an opening, gets too aggressive, taps out all of his creatures.
Like, he has the ability to drop him to 2, which puts him in Pillar of Flame range. But
yeah. Rashad was just clarifying if Detention Sphere is a May ability or not, and it is.
It's really
reason being that he could have sacrificed Falconwrath Aristocrat to itself and forced Morgan to exile one of his own creatures, but it is actually a May ability.
Yeah.
Unlike Oblivion Ring.
Yeah.
Like, why pretend I don't? We do.
Snap block conscripts.
So the fact that he has conscripts is now well known to both players.
Yeah, Morgan
figured it out.
Morgan said he snap blocks the conscripts.
It's a little unfortunate that Zvi doesn't have a blue mana source, or else he could conscripts steal the evil twin and then kill itself. But
he needs blue for that.
Yeah, he needs a blue for that. It's just a pipe dream.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea, though. All right, I think we're going to see conscripts here.
It looks like.
And
all right, so
and Morgan already knew that this exactly was coming up. He takes 5 damage, goes down to 3. That is going to mean, though, that Morgan's going to have to leave that dragon back, I think.
Very likely. I mean, he'll go up to 5 with the Deathrite Shaman. Who has the ability to.
Angel of Serenity here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 mana.
All right, he is going to keep on attacking.
6. Yeah, Morgan's only got access to 6 mana right now because
Burial Rite is going to get back Centaur Healer. Is going to bring him back up to 6, and that's going to mean that there's no one creature in Zvi's deck that can just kill him this turn. He's left up a green and a black, so he can also gain 2 life here if he wants.
Or depending on what Zvi does, hit him for 2 and then kill him on the next turn with another activation for 2. Yeah, that'll be it.
Yep, he can get him down to 5 and then battle him with the dragon. So Morgan Chang is able to engineer a nice board state there and pick up a win versus Zvi Mowshowitz. So now they're both even at 1 game apiece. For those of you just joining us, we're in round 12 here at Grand Prix Atlantic City. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Nate Price. And in our other feature match, we had Ari Lax with Mono Red versus Zach Hill with the same deck that Zvi's playing here, Red Black, and Ari was able to win 2 games. That's leaving Zvi versus Morgan Chang. Morgan's on 4-color Reanimator, a pretty nice little brew that he's got. He's been playing this a bit for a while, and this is his latest version.
Yeah.
And like we said, Zvi's on Red Black, big.
It becomes a copy except for the ability.
Yeah, it's.
So it would be whatever color.
We talked a little bit about how the Red-Black deck matches up with other aggressive decks, and it's not a deck that plays very well against fast decks because of the fact that so many of its early creatures come into play tapped or can't block. The version that Zach and Zvi are running is a little bit better at fighting in those situations because it does have those Crimson Muckwaiters, which are fairly strong. The downside is to take advantage of their regeneration costs you a lot of mana, which significantly hinders your board development, which is not good when you're trying to develop against an aggressive deck. Zach had no choice in his matchup other than to try to be more aggressive than Ari did, and Ari just simply had the top end where Zach didn't, which is a little bit rare considering the fact that Ari's running such a smaller complement of top end than Zach is. But this matchup here it's kind of a archetypical matchup for this format. It's a deck that features recurring life gain against the aggressive black-red, I guess, demon of the format.
Sure, yeah.
So,
that's a fair word.
And we've seen it happen both ways in the 2 games that we've seen, where the black-red deck they won the die roll, and Zvi was able to cruise to a victory before Morgan could set anything up. And then in this last game, by virtue of playing first, Morgan has the ability to clear the board away with a Supreme Verdict out of his sideboard. And take advantage of that. Morgan's deck is set up in the main deck to be able to deal primarily with the mid-range decks. He correctly chose his main deck for the field, And his sideboard is really, really useful in these matchups. He brings in, I think, all but 3 cards in this match. He brings in that second copy of Deathrite Shaman, the second Centaur Healer, the second Evil Twin, both his Abrupt Decays, Golgari Charms, Attention Sphere, Supreme Verdict, Rock's Faithmender. Like, the only card that might not make it into that group, he might not bring in that second Deathrite Shaman, but the life gain is really, really important. Plus, it does block in a pinch. It's unfortunate, like one of the marquee parts of his deck, a little tricksy, but the Deadeye Navigator tricks that he's able to pull off with Thragtusk and Angel and Centaur Healer. It's not something that's very easy to pull off in this matchup because it does require you to either get to 6 mana and survive a turn, or like play it with a higher amount of mana. I mean, it locks the game up when it actually hits, but at the same time, it's just really difficult to get to that point and still have the ability to do that because of the fact that it costs 6, and even if you get the acceleration out due to a Deathrite Shaman, you're still basically playing it on turn 5, where your opponent is kicking into high gear with their hasty spells to finish things off. So.
You're getting paid like over 50% of the time.
I do like seeing spell complements like we see in Morgan's deck, though. Like Grizzly Salvage, Mulch, Tracker's Instinct, Forbidden Alchemy. Like all of these cards just allow you to do an incredible amount of sift. And sifting through, like I can only imagine what the format is going to be like once Gatecrash hits, and you get the access to even more correct mana.
Sure.
Say. You get to replace the M13 lands with actual basic, well, non-basic lands that count as basic land types.
Yep.
Very, very important.
Yeah, because you have a lot of different ways to go about trying to win game 2 based on what I think is going on. It's like, how fast is he and how overwhelmed am I?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you can hear Zvi talking about exactly what we talked about as that second game was going on, trying to figure out which position he was actually in game 2, whether he was on the aggressive at that point or whether he was going to have to slow down and go for the high-end stuff.
And just sort of wait it out until you can start slamming 4 and 5 drops on the table.
Yeah. Based on the conversation I saw or I heard between him and Zach Hill yesterday, it seems like Zvi is far more likely to go on the aggressive route.
Okay. And it looks like he's got an aggressive start here with the Diregraph Ghoul on turn 1. And tapped Overgrown Tomb from Morgan Chang. Pass the turn back. 2 damage coming in. What does Zvi have to follow up? It's obviously not a Night of Infamy, or else he would have cast that in his first main. So what does he have? He's got a Crimson Muckwader. So he's turn 2. He's got 5 power on the board, ready to beat down, and Morgan Chang is going to have to find a way to deal with it. Right now he's just got a Deathrite Shaman on turn 2 after a tapped Temple Garden. Zvi's got his card for the turn. Now he's not going to be able to play a Geralf's Messenger thanks to that Mountain. But he is going to battle in for 5 before making his play. I see he's got a Falconwrath Aristocrat in his hand already, so next turn, if he's got the land drops, that could happen. It looks like he's just going to have to shift the turn back after playing a rather clunky card, Rakdos Guildgate. It's a necessary evil in this deck because the mana is pretty hungry, even though it's only a 2-color deck. But when you're running a card that's black, 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 and trying to curve into red, red, it can be pretty rough.
Yeah.
All right, another Guildgate off the top for Zvi here. I think. Yeah, anyway, so there's a Blood Crypt that he's going to play untapped because that's going to give him access to the Falconwrath Aristocrat. And sure enough, he's battling with everybody. It's 9 damage coming at Morgan Chang, who hasn't really done anything this game.
No.
I'm assuming he's got a Grizzly Salvage in his hand.
He certainly doesn't have the
Golgari
Golgari
to drop
Charm
down to 4 here.
It's actually impossible. Yeah.
Golgari Charm here would have been amazing. Kill the
just would have killed the Aristocrat,
but it also would have reduced the attack to a mere 3-point attack.
That's true. It actually would have allowed. Yeah, so just 3 would have been significantly better.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have it.
I mean, he's actually.
Yeah, he's specifically
talking about Golgari Charm here.
Like chump and take one, you don't try to take one. Yeah. It's good, it's not a blowout.
I mean, not having to deal with this kind of actually.
I mean, it's. Right, I mean, you don't get blown out. I don't get blown out. Right, it's a game of matches.
All right, he's going to have to take exactly 6 damage. Yeah, they're talking about what we were just talking about. and Morgan doesn't have anything.
Nice.
No Grizzly salvage. So it looks like Morgan's just going to get ran over this game as he's just really done nothing. He just passes a turn back. Morgan's sitting at 7. There's more than lethal damage here, and boom,
that'll
the Hell
do it.
Rider is just
And
going to finish
even
it
more.
off. And that's it. Morgan has no way to battle. A rather quick opening from Svi Moshowitz, and he improves to 11-1.
Bring me out and I can just beat that.
The guilds of Ravnica continue plotting, so myopic in their quests for power that they're unaware of our machinations. Under my stewardship, House Demir will assume dominion over this city. Toward that end, the Simics' ability to evolve and adapt could prove an asset. They breed new predators without thought to the prey they might hunt, and the marginalized rule. The clan's explosive violence can provide the finest cover for our covert dealings. The Orzhov Syndicate skillfully restored the facade of piety, but are driven as ever by base pursuits of wealth and power. Throughout, my Demir agents hear all and see all, gathering secrets from the shadows, never attracting the attention of those righteous enforcers known as the Boros Legion. Its platoons will be kept busy with other, less subtle crimes. My path will be made clear. No one of this world can stop me.
And welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Atlantic City. So Hall of Famer Svi Moshowitz is able to get